How's it going, guys? Cody back again, dropping yet another video. Right, guys, the story I'm about to read you was from the other year, right? And it was about the sad and tragic passing of a prisoner by the name of Joshua Scholick, who was just 26 when he died at HMP Durham. I covered the death back then. I then came into contact with, through covering the story, like a lot of, sadly and tragically, through a lot of these stories reference prison deaths, prisoner suicides, deaths in custody. You end up coming in contact with a family once you cover the story. Now, so I ended up coming into contact with his fiance, a girl by the name of Emily, right? Lovely, lovely girl. Love this boy to the end of the earth and back. He was only 26 when he passed away. I'm going to read the story. I'm going to do my bit at the end. Link in the description below, like I always do. Headline reads: Dead in jail at 26. The boy once scouted by Newcastle United Football Club, but beaten by his demons. Tragic. Josh Scholick was on remand for a fray when he suffered a spice-induced heart attack. Joshua Scholick's mum still has the text which broke her heart. As he languished in prison, Josh used a smuggled mobile phone to beg her to make £100 payments to a stranger to avoid getting slashed. I feared for his safety so much, said his mum, Madonna Tempest. I was worried something bad would happen. Tragically, her worries came true. Troubled Josh was found dead in his HMP Durham cell whilst on remand for a fray. Aged just 26, he suffered a heart attack after consuming a cocktail of drugs which included spice. A new report into his death has raised concerns over the ease in which drugs have been smuggled inside the Durham prison, following a string of similar deaths. For his mum, it was the sad final chapter in the story of a young lad who had the world at his feet, but whose demons drove him to crime and eventually an early grave. He was a lovely little boy who was scouted by Newcastle and Sunderland, but his temper let him down, said Madonna, from Peter Lee, who raised him alone. He always suffered with his mental health, and Joshua had his demons. By the age of 9, I was already taking him to the doctors about his temper, and he even got him anger management, but it didn't help. He also had his head hammered in an attack, which gave him a brain injury, which made his paranoia and psychosis even worse. His issues were compounded by his drug misuses, which a prison and probation ombudsman report stated he had significant history of. That eventually landed Josh behind bars, with his first ever prison stint in 2015, doing a little to sway him from his life of crime. He was remanded at South Durham Magistrates Court in May of 2018 over the alleged affray. Once inside, he struggled. Within weeks, he attempted suicide, heartbroken due to a double whammy of bad news. Mr. Scholick said he had enough, and as his father was in hospital and his girlfriend had ended their relationship, states the report. He said his father was in hospital as he had suffered a heart attack. He also said his girlfriend had been unfaithful to him. He said he had made a ligature and put it around his neck, but his cellmate had found him. The report states Josh, who had a personality disorder, initially refused to engage with support in prison, including help for drugs and his mental health. He also failed to show for appointments relating to his brain injuries sustained in the attack. However, he later told staff he was no longer suicidal, though he did say he was in a low mood and his head was all over the place. By September, he was self-harming with a plastic knife whilst under the influence of drugs. Again, he declined help, although his risk level was raised. He was remanded again, this time at Newcastle Crown Court. 10 days later on, the morning of September the 29th, his cellmate raised the alarm that he couldn't wake Josh in his top bunk. Mr. Scholick's cellmate said Mr. Scholick had something the night before, states the report, which adds a nurse arrived quickly but did not administer CPR. She told the investigator that she did not start CPR as rigor mortis was clearly evident, which indicated that Mr. Scholick had been dead for some time, and to start CPR would have been futile and undignified. The cellmate, whom Madonna, obviously Josh's mum, believes bullied her son, was interviewed under caution by Durham Constabulary, although no action came of it. Despite that, she believes her son was failed over the years by various bodies, which included his mental health, which she feels was not enough, was done to stop the flow of drugs into the prison. His death was one of 6 at HMP Durham that year due to drugs. The Chief Inspector of Prisons was concerned that safety at Durham had been seriously compromised by the readily availability of illicit drugs, and the Prison and Probation Ombudsman has now ruled out staff should have ensure key drugs issues are identified and the strategy, easy for me to say, to tackle trafficking and trading of illicit substances are addressed. In the 2 years since, the prison service insists improvements have been made. A prison service spokesperson said, here we go, "This is a very sad case and our thoughts remain with Mr. Scholick's family and friends. Since his death in 2018, an X-ray body scanner has been installed at Durham. Cell searches have been stepped up and medication checks are carried out regularly. For Madonna, though, anything done now is sadly too little, too late. His friends loved him. His friends loved him. He fought their battles and would give anyone his last penny, and he loved me," she said. "One lad came up to me at his funeral and said that he would have been stabbed at school if it wasn't for Josh looking after him. But he was quite an angry person and that his demons grew with him. However, there were a lot of breaks in his mental health assessments, and that way the drugs are getting into the prison. It's just not right." That's the end of the story. Now, with this particular story, first things first, like, God bless Joshua Scholick. May you rest in peace, right? Joshua, obviously Josh is short for Joshua. May Joshua Scholick rest in peace. I've never spoken to Madonna Tempest, his mother, but I have interacted with Emily, his fiance, and she's still on my Facebook even at this moment, and I've sent her this link as well. Now, the nurse said, that rigor mortis had set in. I don't care. Still try. I'm sorry. If it's your loved one that's in prison, you would want them to try CPR, right? Whether it be futile, undignified, load of rubbish, right? You still got to try, right? Like I've said, it was obviously a cold blue was raised, obviously like a tragic death. From what I remember, from what Emily told me, she believes that there was foul play involved because the padmate was potentially bullying or victimizing Joshua, including giving him drugs and allegedly like saying, "Look, like you better swallow these drugs" and stuff like that. Right? When you're in prison, if you've got mental health issues, it gets compounded by your environment. When you're in prison, the magnifying glass on your life increases tenfold. And it's the worst possible place you can put someone with already significant mental health issues. Mental health services in prison are piss poor. They're inadequate. It's beyond words. Healthcare in general in prisons is appalling. But putting a mentally ill prisoner in prison on remand for an affray fighting in the street, guys, putting him in prison on remand, and they leave in a body bag. They pay with their life. Not right. Not right in any regard. Like I said, I've never spoken to Josh's mum. I covered the story back in September of 2018. Paid my respects to Josh, obviously. It sounds like it's got to the inquest stage now, and that's why this story is coming out. Josh's cellmate was spoken to by the Northeast Constabulary, Durham Constabulary, in regards to Josh's death, because, like I said, foul play was the family, or his fiance, not the family, his fiance reckons there was foul play involved. It goes on, guys. Not every death in prison is black and white, trust me. But like I said, a 26-year-old man was on the talent, was on the books of Sunderland wanted him, Newcastle wanted him, had the world at his feet. Age of 26, mental health, drug use, like I say, paranoia, things like that. And sadly and tragically, it leaves prison in a body bag. Like I said, this is going back to September of 2018. The reason this story seems to have come out now, reading between the lines, is because the inquest has come to a conclusion. What annoys me, though, whenever there's a death in custody, the MOJ always throw out the line, we have now introduced this, and this. It's hollow words, and it comes as no words of comfort to the family of the prisoner that has lost their life. Whether that be suicide, medical negligence, natural causes, or drug induced, which this is attributed to been made. Like I said, apparently it was a heart attack brought on by spice. But like I said, when you were in prison, prisoners with significant mental health issues, they are very, very vulnerable. And I've seen mentally ill prisoners spiked with drugs for a laugh. I don't think it's funny in any regard. I've seen prisoners bullied into taking drugs. I've seen prisoners peer pressured into taking illicit drugs. Prisoners with mental health issues, significant mental health issues. I've seen it where someone used to go around picking up dimps before the smoking ban. People used to put so they'd leave like 3/4 of a spliff of spice on the landing, knowing that this person had spotted it and pick it up because they had no support network, they had mental health issues, and they pick it up, they blaze it, and then a few tokes, and then the spice takes hold, and then they fall into one of these catatonic states. Spice is a drug of choice for a lot of people in prison. Personally, it's a vile drug. They call it fish in prison. It smells like fish. It's disgusting. But it's the drug of choice. It's cheaper than other drugs. It's more potent. And it's wreaking havoc in our prisons. But like I said, God bless Joshua Scholick. May he rest in peace. I'll put all the relevant tags in. I'll put a link in the description below, guys, so you should read it if you want to at your own leisure. I'm going to leave it there, guys. My thoughts and prayers go out to Madonna, Emily, his fiance, and obviously God bless Josh. May he rest in peace. Going to leave it there, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Cody out.